I almost died. And what I'm about to tell you, I've never told anyone before.
My name is Jonathan Miller. I died for 7 minutes. 7 minutes where time ceased to exist, yet every second burned into my soul. I remember the instant I opened my eyes beyond this world, and the first face I saw was not what I expected. It was him. Jesus. Not the figure from paintings, not the image from Sunday sermons. He was alive, radiant, and his gaze pierced through me, seeing every secret, every grudge, every hidden lie. I could not look away. I wanted to, yet I could not. For over 43 years, I had been a Christian, raised in a devout Baptist family in Atlanta, Georgia, teaching Sunday school for 15 years, leading youth ministry for a decade, singing in the choir. I had poured my life into service. I had counseled, prayed, and preached forgiveness. I had convinced myself that my heart was pure. Yet in those 7 minutes, all of it felt like dust. My best friend had betrayed me. My brother had stolen from our family. My son had made choices that tore at my soul. And all the while, I had held on to bitterness, pride, and judgment. I had thought God did not see. I had thought he would forgive even if I refused to forgive myself or others. Now I knew. He saw everything. The light around him was not like sunlight or moonlight. It was alive, warm, alive. I could feel it brushing my skin, filling my chest with a weightless heat. It did not blind me. Instead, it drew me closer, forced me to confront my own heart. My body was gone, yet my soul trembled with terror and awe. I could feel the pull of judgment, the pull of mercy, and I realized that my eternal destiny was suspended by a single, fragile thread. I tried to plead, I tried to hide, but there was no hiding, no bargaining, no excuses. Only the presence of him who knows all and loves all, yet demands truth. And then I remembered the life I had lived, my faith, my service, my smiles, my sermons. And I wondered, would it be enough? The air around me felt electric, charged with something I could not name. My heartbeat, or what remained of it, echoed in slow, impossible rhythm. I was leaving my body. I was leaving life itself, and I knew, with every fiber of my being, that what came next would change me forever. Before that day, before the collapse, my life looked perfect to everyone who knew me. I lived in Atlanta, Georgia, in a comfortable home filled with laughter, music, and Sunday dinners. Neighbors waved as I left for church. Colleagues admired my commitment, and families in the congregation sought my guidance. I was Jonathan Miller, a man of faith, a man who had dedicated decades to God. From the outside, everything seemed in order. I taught Sunday school for 15 years. I led the youth ministry for a decade, pouring energy into teenagers who often felt lost, broken, or alone. I sang in the choir, organized charity drives, counseled couples, prayed over the sick. People called me a man of God. I believed it too, mostly. I married young. My wife, Sarah, had been my high school sweetheart. We shared dreams of raising children in the church, guiding them toward righteousness, and building a family rooted in prayer. We had 2 children, my son, Ethan, and our youngest, Lily. They were the center of my life, at least in theory, but beneath the surface, cracks had begun to form. Small at first, almost invisible. My relationships were frayed by unspoken anger. My heart hardened by betrayals I refused to release. I counseled forgiveness for others, yet I struggled to forgive the ones closest to me. At work and at church, I thrived. At home, tension simmered. Arguments with my brother over the family business left me bitter, resentful, and exhausted. My son's choices that defied everything I had taught him, ignited a fire in my chest I could not extinguish, and my closest friend had whispered behind my back, spreading my private struggles like wildfire. I smiled through it all, preached through it all, but inside I carried a storm. I often prayed late at night, asking God for patience, for clarity, for the wisdom to forgive, yet my prayers felt hollow. My faith had become a performance, a mask I wore for the world, while my heart quietly raged against those who hurt me. I knew something was wrong, a subtle, nagging awareness that my life, my ministry, my faith was not as intact as everyone believed. And yet, I continued. I could not stop. I could not admit the bitterness within me. Then came that day, the day that would change everything. The argument with my son, the call with my brother, the betrayal by my friend. the collapse that would leave me hovering between life and death, suspended in 7 minutes that would redefine my soul. And in that moment, I had no idea what awaited me beyond the physical, nor the truths I would have to face. It started with my best friend Marcus. We had grown up together, shared secrets, prayed over each other, laughed until our sides ached. I trusted him with my life, until one afternoon, the betrayal hit like a punch to the chest. I discovered that he had shared my deepest struggles, private confessions I had made in confidence, with others in our circle. I remember calling him, my hands shaking, voice tight with anger I could not hide. "How could you?" I demanded. He shrugged, feigning ignorance. "I thought it was harmless. Everyone deals with issues. You should not take it so personally." Harmless. The word burned. I felt every ounce of our years together twist into shards of disappointment. I tried to forgive him, to pray for patience, but the resentment settled into my chest, like lead. Every time I saw him afterward, I felt the sting anew, a silent accusation that I could not speak aloud. Then there was my brother, David. The theft was not subtle. A large sum vanished from our family business, money that could have supported struggling relatives, school tuition, bills, everything. I confronted him one evening, my voice trembling, heart pounding. "David, this is wrong. You must make this right," I said, trying to keep anger from overtaking me. His eyes were cold, unapologetic. "I do not owe you anything, Jonathan. Stop lecturing me." I could not believe it. Years of trust, of shared responsibility, of family loyalty, shattered in that single moment. I left his apartment feeling hollow, the words of scripture echoing mockingly in my mind. "Forgive as the Lord forgave you." I prayed that night, but sleep brought no peace. The bitterness remained, alive, a constant companion. The last and most painful crack tore through my family. My son, Ethan, the boy I had prayed over for years, had impregnated a girl at school. I learned about it the night I came home from choir rehearsal. The news hit me like a physical blow. My first instinct was fury. My second was shame. My third, despair. I sat him down, hands gripping the edges of the table. "Ethan, what were you thinking?" My voice shook. His eyes lowered. The silence between us was thick, suffocating. I wanted to scream, to turn away, to punish. Yet my heart also ached for him, for the child, for the girl. I prayed, silently, for a forgiveness I did not yet feel. By the end of that week, I realized that my heart was fractured in 3 ways that no sermon could heal. These offenses, these betrayals, had planted seeds of anger, bitterness, and fear, and I carried them like chains, invisible but crushing. I thought I was strong. I thought my faith could withstand anything, but each wound was a crack in the foundation of my soul, and the storm was coming. The argument with my son had left my chest tight, my thoughts spinning. My brother's betrayal and my best friend's deceit were heavy stones pressing down on me. I felt cornered, trapped in my own anger, my own bitterness, and I did not know it yet, but these sins would follow me to the edge of eternity. It happened suddenly. I was pacing the living room, hands gripping the edge of the sofa. My chest tightened sharply, a burning pressure that took my breath away. The walls of the room seemed to close in. The pain radiated through my left arm, up to my jaw. Then everything went black. I collapsed to the floor. I was conscious and unconscious all at once. The room, the screaming, the panic, everything was distorted. I could hear Sarah calling my name. I could hear the paramedics shouting through the phone, but it was like I was underwater, trapped in a bubble of fear and heat, and unbearable pressure. Then came it was cold, dark, and merciless, a weight pressing on me, dragging me downward. I could feel it, in my soul, not just my body. It was judgment, the gravity of my bitterness, the grudges I had clung to, the anger I had harbored for years. All of it was alive. It was trying to claim me. I screamed, inside without sound. I tried to grasp anything familiar, my faith, my church, my prayers, but they slipped through my fingers. Every face I had ever hurt or betrayed appeared, not in memory, but in accusation. Marcus's laughter, my brother's cold eyes, Ethan's shame, they circled me, pointing, judging. I was falling, deeper and deeper into darkness. I felt my soul twisting in terror. Every scripture I had preached mocked me. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. I had not forgiven. I had not released the bitterness. And now, I could almost feel the flames licking at the edges of my being. The air was thick with heat, and a low growl vibrated in my chest. It was not of this world. I was being pulled toward a place I could not name, a place I feared more than death itself. I tried to fight. I wanted to claw back, to reach for the light, but the darkness was alive. It wrapped around me like chains, whispering my failures, my pride, my unforgiveness. I could see shadows swirling, shapes with eyes like coals, mouths twisted in hunger. I was almost lost, almost gone. Then I felt it, a warmth, faint at first, breaking through the suffocating cold, a presence, gentle, undeniable, pulling me away from the abyss. I recognized it, not yet fully but instinctively. Love, mercy, truth. It brushed against my soul, reaching for me as if saying, "Jonathan, I am here. I will not let you fall." I clawed toward it, panic driving me, but the darkness fought back. I could hear the growl, the whispers, the pressure pulling at me. I felt my soul bending, almost snapping, as if the unforgiveness I had carried for decades would finally claim me. Then the light grew brighter, warmer, impossibly tender. Shapes in the shadows recoiled, shrieking without sound. The pull lessened, the weight lifted slightly, and in that moment, I realized that I was standing at a threshold, teetering between total loss and something I could not yet understand. My body lay on the floor of the living room. I could feel it, but it was distant. The monitors, the beeping, the paramedics, the smell of antiseptic, it all faded as I floated, suspended between despair and the light that promised salvation. I had almost fallen. I had almost been dragged into the darkness by my own unforgiveness, and yet, I was still here, still alive, still tethered to mercy. And then I saw him. The light solidified. The warmth became form. He was there, waiting, watching, not with condemnation, yet demanding truth. The darkness recoiled, and the warmth solidified into a presence I could not deny. He stood before me, Jesus, not distant or untouchable, not like a figure in paintings or sermons, alive, radiant, yet somehow familiar, like the center of my own heart. I wanted to shrink, to hide, to explain away my bitterness, my failures, my unforgiveness, but his gaze held me. Every secret, every grudge, every lie I had told myself to justify my anger, it was laid bare, and then I saw it, my life, like a tapestry unraveling in reverse. Moments of pride, anger and judgment stretched before me. The betrayal by Marcus, the theft by my brother, Ethan's rebellion, every resentment, every silent grudge, every unspoken word, played back with unflinching clarity. I trembled. Lord, how could you forgive me if I cannot forgive them? I whispered. My voice shook, though no one was near to hear it. He spoke, not with words I heard, but with understanding that penetrated every fiber of my being. Jonathan, your unforgiveness is heavier than any sin you carry, but mercy is greater than all. Forgive and you will find freedom. Hold on to bitterness and you will lose yourself. A life review began, not just of sins but of grace I had ignored, every act of kindness I had performed without love, every sermon I preached while my heart was divided, every prayer I offered in pride, showed me how far I had strayed, and yet for every failure, his mercy reached deeper than my guilt, deeper than my shame. I saw the faces of those I had wronged, and those who had wronged me. I felt the pain I had carried, and the pain I had inflicted. And then I understood the scripture I had long taught but never fully embraced. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. Ephesians 4:32. The truth hit me like fire. My salvation, my soul, my very being, was not secured by appearances, sermons or works alone. It was tethered to my willingness to release the grudges that had held me captive for decades. And then he stretched out his hand, a command, gentle yet unwavering. Go back, make it right, heal your heart and your relationships. Forgive, teach what you have truly learned. I wanted to stay, bathe in the warmth and the peace, never return to the chaos and pain of earth, but I knew I could not. I had been given a second chance, a mission, and as he stepped back, the light began to fade, not like leaving, but like being called back into the world I had almost lost forever. I woke to the sterile smell of the hospital, the sharp beep of monitors, the white ceiling glaring above me. My body ached as if every bone, every muscle had been reset. I blinked, disoriented. Sarah was there, holding my hand, tears streaming down her face. Her lips moved, words I could not yet hear, and I realized I had survived. But survival was not enough. My mind raced faster than my pulse. I remembered the darkness, the shadows, the weight that had almost dragged me into oblivion. I remembered him, Jesus, the warmth, the light, the command. Go back, make it right, heal your heart and your relationships. I could not stay silent. I whispered, hoarse, trembling, Sarah, I almost lost myself, my soul, all of it, because I could not forgive. I held bitterness like a weapon, and it almost killed me. She squeezed my hand, no words, just presence, and I felt it, the weight of years of unforgiveness, anger, pride, and fear, beginning to lift. But lifting did not mean gone, it meant work, real work, painful, humbling, raw work. I replayed the offenses in my mind, the betrayal by Marcus, my brother's theft, Ethan's rebellion, and I wept, not just for what they had done, but for how I had let these wounds fester in my heart. I confessed silently to God, each word trembling in the room, mixing with my tears. I forgive them. Help me, Lord. I cannot do this alone. The first step was honesty. I could not pretend. I could not hide behind sermons, smiles, or good deeds. I admitted the truth to myself and to Sarah. I have carried grudges, secret anger. It is wrong. It nearly destroyed me. She held me tighter, and I realized forgiveness would not just be words. It would require courage, vulnerability, humility. I had to face those I had loved and trusted, and those I had failed. I had to make amends where I could. For the first time in years, I felt clarity. The fear, the panic, the suffocating weight of judgment began to give way to a fragile, trembling hope. I was alive, not by accident, not by chance, by mercy, divine mercy. I closed my eyes, remembering the scripture I had always taught, but now felt with every fiber of my being. The Lord is compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in love. Psalm 103:8. And I understood I had been given a second chance, not just to live physically, but to live spiritually, to release bitterness, heal my heart, and walk in true obedience. The next steps would not be easy, but for the first time, I felt ready to face them. The first week after I left the hospital was strange and quiet. My body ached, my chest still throbbed from the collapse, but my mind was alive in ways I had never known. I could not yet move freely, but I spent hours in the living room, writing letters and journaling everything I felt. Anger, guilt, regret, fear, all poured onto paper. I began with Marcus. I waited until I could speak without my voice shaking, and I called him. Marcus, I am recovering from a serious health scare, I said slowly. It made me realize I have been holding on to anger. I cannot carry it anymore. There was a long pause. Then he said quietly, Jonathan, I am sorry. I did not realize how much it hurt you. We talked carefully, honestly. No accusations, no yelling, just confession, listening, and acknowledgement. I did not demand an apology. I shared my pain. He shared his perspective. By the end of the call, I felt the first small release of the weight I had carried for years. Next was my brother, David. I waited a few more days before calling him. I explained that I needed to meet him and talk about what had happened with the family business. He was hesitant, defensive even, but I did not shout or kneel or plead. I simply told him, David, what happened hurt me deeply. It has affected our family and I have carried anger because of it. I want to move forward, but I need to be honest with you first. The conversation was tense, honest, and raw. David admitted his mistakes, offered apologies, and we began to discuss ways to rebuild trust slowly. It was awkward, uncomfortable, yet it felt real. No grand gestures, just two men trying to repair what had been broken. Ethan came last. Weeks had passed since the hospital, and he had begun to understand the gravity of his choices. One evening we sat in the living room, quiet at first. Ethan, I have been angry, hurt, disappointed, but I want us to move forward. I forgive you, and I hope you can forgive me for the ways I failed you as a father. He hesitated, then nodded. Dad, I am sorry too. I want to do better. We talked about boundaries, accountability, and lessons learned. Nothing was rushed. Healing was slow, fragile but real. I also took steps with my ministry. I admitted to my congregation and close colleagues that I had failed in pride and bitterness. I stepped back from certain responsibilities temporarily, not out of shame, but to grow and practice the lessons I had learned. Every conversation, every small act, Every honest word was a stitch in the fabric of my repaired soul. Forgiveness was not instantaneous. It was a process, painful, humbling, but necessary. For the first time, I felt light in my chest, a freedom I had never known before. I understood fully, mercy heals, but only if we are willing to embrace it with courage and honesty. The days and weeks after my reconciliation passed slowly, but I could feel the change in my heart. The anger that had weighed me down for years was no longer my constant companion. Forgiveness had begun to flow, fragile at first, then stronger with each honest conversation, each confession, each moment of humility. I reflected often on that night, the moment my heart stopped, the darkness that almost consumed me and the presence that saved me. I had been given a second chance, not just to live, but to live rightly, to embody mercy and to walk in the fullness of God's love. I realized that forgiveness is not easy. It does not happen overnight. It requires courage, patience, and honesty, but it is the only path to true freedom. Holding on to bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I had lived in that poison for years, and nearly lost everything because of it. Psalm 34:18 came alive in my soul. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. I had been crushed, broken, and yet He had drawn near. I had glimpsed eternity, and I had seen both the terror of unforgiveness and the joy of mercy. Now each day is a choice, to forgive when it is difficult, to speak the truth, even when it is uncomfortable, to show love to those who have hurt me and to those I have hurt. I share my story not for pity, but to offer hope, to show that no darkness is too deep, no grudge too heavy, for God's mercy to reach. I look at Marcus, David, and Ethan differently now, not just as people who caused me pain, but as vessels of lessons I needed to learn. Our relationships are not perfect, and some wounds remain, but they are healing, and I know that my journey is not finished. It will never truly be finished on earth. Forgiveness is a lifelong practice, a daily act of obedience. To anyone watching this, I say, examine your heart, look at the grudges you carry, ask God to show you the cost of unforgiveness. Be honest with yourself, be courageous with others, take the first step, even if it is small. Write a letter, make a phone call, pray over your anger. Do not wait until it is almost too late. I close with one final verse that became my anchor, my life raft in the storm. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Romans 12:21. I am Jonathan Myers. I lived, I died, and I returned to share this message. Mercy saves, forgiveness heals, and love is stronger than the darkness that nearly took me. So I ask you, what grudge are you holding that could cost you more than you realize? What act of mercy could set your soul free today? I came back from the edge of death, and I saw the cost of holding on to anger. I felt the weight of grudges crushing my soul, and I learned that forgiveness is not just mercy for others, it is life for yourself. If my story moved you, take a moment to subscribe and join me on this journey of hope, healing, and tell me, what is the one grudge you are holding that could almost cost you your soul? Do you dare to let it go, or will you carry it to the edge too? Leave your answer in the comments. I want to hear your truth.